Welcome to Cloudy with a Chance of Meeples, a channel of conversation and board games.
Hey, my name is Brent here on Cloudy with a Chance of Meeples. Time to do another top 10 list of Everdell cards. Today we are looking at my top 10 legendary cards. Superpower versions of other Everdell cards. If legendary cards are new to you, you can get some of them in Mistwood expansion and some of them in the collector's edition of Everdell, or if you don't have the collector's edition, you can get them in the Glimmer Gold pack. But these are my top 10 favorite legendary cards from Everdell. So let's just dive in to number 10, and this is the Legendary General Store, and it is Click Clacks. This is a production card. It costs, 2 twigs, 2 resin, and a pebble. And when you play it, you gain 3 berries and then 1 victory point for each farm you already have. Of course, I should say that legendary cards cannot be copied, so you can't reactivate this with a chip sweep. But I don't know, I like this. If you pair this with the pig power, this could be like extremely lucrative, because the pig powers is you get to play one of the farms for free in each season. So, when you activate this in fall or autumn, I guess, you would have you would have 3 farms. So virtually you would get 3 berries and any 3 resources. So that's pretty good. So that is my number 10, Click Clacks. Moving on, number 9, this would be the Legendary Wife or the Legendary Gatherer, whichever version you have. And you know what? The Wife is already a pretty sweet card when you paired with the husband, but this is just that much greater. Base value points 5 victory points. So if you add the husband to this or the harvester, I think if my math is correct, that's a 12-point slot. So let's be honest, 12 points in one slot. Can't go wrong with that. Number 8. This is a governance card. It's a critter. And if you know the legendary cards, you could probably figure out it's one of 2. And that is Foresight, the Legendary Historian. Draw 2 cards after you play a critter and gain a resource after you play a construction. So, man, you're never going to run out of cards if you have Foresight. Chances are you're actually going to have too many cards, you won't be able to pick them up a lot of the time, because every critter you play, you get 2. That's awesome. And, you play this in Spirecrest. Sometimes you have to discard cards after you play cards. This is Foresight's a lifesaver in that sense, because you seem to always be running out of cards, and with him you're not going to have that issue. So number 8 is Foresight. If you follow the channel, you'll know that I love the chip sweep, so no shock that the legendary chip sweep, Chipped or Swipple, is on my list. You can activate 2 different production cards. Pretty self-explanatory. I love the chip sweep. You put the chip sweep with, the monk, where you're trading berries for victory points, or you're giving berries away for victory points, or the doctor, or the woodcarver. If you have New Leaf, you have the miller trading pebbles for victory points. Just anything you can trade resources for straight victory points, and then combo that with the Chipped or Swipple is always going to be something I love. And of course, also, if you're new legendary, when you play a legendary card, it adds an extra slot in your city. When you start the game, you start with 1 legendary critter and 1 legendary construction. So you have the possibility of playing up to 17 cards in your city, because I always find that 15 cards is never enough. And so that's why we love playing with the legendary cards, because it gives us 2 extra spots in our cities. When I say we, I'm referring to my wife specifically, because Nicole is who I play Everdell with the most. But moving on, so this will be number 10, 9, 8, 6. Number 6, this is another governance card, and this is the Legendary Crane. The Bridge of the Sky. You play this, and then you can build a construction on top of it, so it takes up the same amount of spaces in your city. And you play one construction on top of this for -3, much like the crane. But then this card is the same base value as whichever card you play. So if you play this and then you play the castle on top of that, this would then become worth 4. If you play the Evertree, it would be worth 5. If you play the Everwall, it would become 6. So, just a way to double, one of those big prosperity cards to, 8 points, 10 points, 12 points, whatever, what have you. So I always love the Bridge of Sky. And of course, you still get the Architect for free because it replaces the crane. So there you have it. But I like the Bridge of the Sky, but not as much as Jor Goldwing. This would be the legendary Bard. And this is amazing. 1 victory point for each card you have in your hand up to 8. Like, you play this at the perfect time. Say you even let's just run a scenario. You have the Bard, you discard 5 cards, gain 5 victory points, and then later on in the game, you then replace your Bard with your with Jor Goldwing. You have a whole hand limit of 8 cards. All of a sudden, you have another 8 victory points. So that one slot's giving you 13 victory points. And then, on a subsequent turn, if you can your timing's good, you then go to the journey and dump 5 of those 8 cards for another 5 victory points. So, oh man, just so much fun. Just Jor Goldwing. And then, of course, he's worth 4 base points as well. So, really, that one slot, Bard to Jor Goldwing, even taking the journey out of it, Bard, 5 points, Jor Goldwing, 8 points plus 4. So 8 plus 4 is 12, plus 5 is 17. So in theory, one slot could be worth 17 victory points if you play your cards right. And that's almost as good as 3 Skerbils, which is a lot harder to get than a Bard and Jor Goldwing. So moving on, if you follow the channel, you'll know that I love going for events. And so why not have Amila Glissendu, the Legendary Queen, as my number 4. Achieve an event even if you don't meet the requirements. So often you're playing, you see the Everdell games, 2 of everything in your city, worth 9 victory points. You're like, man, that's a lot. You have her, you put a character there. Doesn't matter what you have in your city, you just take one of the events. You don't have to have, if you can't achieve it, you can achieve it anyways with a Milligossendu. And I love the flavor text on this. Will make it look convincing. I don't know. I just think it's funny that you're virtually just breaking the rules in the game. And then the whole flavor text is, well, we know we're breaking the rules, but we'll make it look convincing. So Amila Glissendu, my number 4. And speaking of events that only make sense, then number 3 would be the other one that tag teams with special events or basic events and special events per se. And that is Finn Nobletail. One of Nicole's least favorite cards in the game is one of my favorite legendary cards because I love going after events. I love gobbling those things up, as quickly as I can, even in summer. And this just is a legendary king. Instead of 1 victory point extra for each basic event, you get 2. And instead of 2 victory points for every special event, you get 3. So tag team this with gaining a lot of events. And then if you're also playing with the Gazette and you're able to build the Gazette early in the game and capitalize on that, man, this card can be amazing. And of course, you can't find the king and you have to build it with berries alone. It is pretty steep. Seven berries is a lot of berries. I understand that. But, man, Finn Nobletail has done me well many a times. But then there were 2. As much as I love all those cards, there are 2 that I love that much more. And many know the Dungeon and the Ranger are some of my favorite cards. And my second favorite legendary card is the Legendary Dungeon. And Dark Deep Prison, discard 2 critters from your city, gain 3 resources and 3 victory points or shinies for each critter. That is crazy fun. That's ridiculous. You're you're freeing up 2 slots in your city, you're getting 6 victory points and 6 resources. And it can be any resources. So, you're dumping the Bard, let's say, you're dumping the Undertaker, you're dumping the Postal Pigeon, you're dumping all these cards that you've used to your advantage in the game, and then you're getting any resources back and 6 victory points, and it's still worth 3. And of course, it still counts as a dungeon, so then you can still get your free ranger. So man, playing this one, you don't want to do it too early because you have to activate it right away. But this can be like a lifesaver if you're like, man, my city's getting super full. I really need to be able to remove some critters in my city. This can do it. And of course, if you play this after you've already used your dungeon twice, you're virtually using your dungeon / this to remove 4 critters in your city. And if you played Everdell enough, you can understand how that can be extremely beneficial. So this is my number 2. So what could be my number 1 legendary card? And it may shock you. This card I absolutely love. And one of the reasons I love this card is because of the Pearlbrook expansion. I think it's a good card, even if you don't play with the Pearlbrook expansion. But this is a Tan Traveler card, and it is the Legendary Ruins. And yes, this might be shocking, but hear me out. And of course, if I get these rules wrong, the world will let me know in the comments. But hear me out as to why I feel this is the best card. The Ruins, I already enjoy the Ruins because, you know, say you have used the dungeon and you use your Ruins to get rid of your dungeon, and you gain those resources back, and then you are able to, you know, if you have the University or the Magician, remove the Ruins out of your city as well. I like the Ruins. This is fantastic. Yes, it only gives you 2 base points, but you play this card under a construction and gain the construction costs and draw 2 cards. Yeah, you get the free Peddler, but let's be honest, I'm not a fan of the Peddler all that much. But in Pearlbrook, you seem to always be looking at, can I build prosperity cards or can I get those wonders? And if you have this, you have a great opportunity to do both. Let's say, imagine with me, I built the castle, which costs, 3 pebbles, 3 resin, and 2 twigs. With this, I then put this underneath my ruins or underneath my castle, and I gain all those resources back. So then I can use those resources to build another prosperity card or potentially to build a wonder. And then on top of that, when you play a legendary card, you remove the other card that this replaces from your city. So this, like in this instance, in the Dark Deep prison, you would remove the dungeon and put this in its place. If you're removing the ruins from your city, you're in a sense freeing up a spot that the ruins was taking, because this is going underneath a different card. So you're gaining all those resources back. So if you were able to build, the castle, the palace, the Everwall, like just something ridiculous, you put this underneath there, you get all those resources back, and you can build another big card and have another slot in your city. That is amazing. That's like, by far makes this my number 1 legendary card. I absolutely love it. So there you have it. Those are my top 10 legendary cards in Everdell, with the Silver Scale Springs being my number 1. What are your favorite legendary cards? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to know more about us, check us out on Facebook, Cloudy with the Chance Meeples. Until next time, grab your umbrella. The forecast is cloudy with a chance of meeples.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember to grab your umbrella because the forecast is cloudy with a chance of meeples.